All right, I just flipped to 10 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. If you guys for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody that would like to speak for the public forum? Right, we will move on. We need to adopt the agenda and we have some additions.
Madam Chair, members of the board, there is one addition. If we could add regular agenda item 3.1, Pine County Early Childhood Expansion Initiatives. It's an amendment to the agreement to change one location from Finlayson to Willow River.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
JJ, Matt, okay, JJ, so we got a motion.
AJ made it, I seconded it.
Motion by JJ, second by Matt. Are there any questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approve the minutes from October 15th, the regular and the summary for publication.
I'll move that.
Thanks, Steve.
Second.
Thanks, Josh. All right, got a motion by Steve, a second by Josh. Are there any questions on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Minutes of the boards. We've got Trust for Public Land correspondence on the Rock Marsh Wildlife Management Area, HRA EDA, Pine County Land Surveyors Monthly Report, and the Pine County zoning minutes.
I'll move.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steve. Got a motion by Matt, a second by, are there any questions on any of those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And approve the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent.
Thanks, Josh.
Second.
Thanks, JJ. Got a motion by Josh, second by JJ. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Well, Judge Wynn, we were just talking about Heather. I'm sorry. That doesn't happen every day. Welcome.
When I tell her that, Commissioner, she's gonna be pretty upset.
We were talking about her and it was all good. No.
When I first went on the bench, I was the only woman in the whole PIC area that had ever been appointed to the bench. That was 23 years ago. And people would come in and tell the bailiffs, I'm here to see the woman judge. Judge Wynn was appointed and I thought, how are they describing me now? Woman judge. So thanks for inviting me. I apologize for the delay. I think usually I'm here a little bit earlier than November, maybe closer to Law Day in May. But we've been busy up on the top floor of the courthouse. And so this was kind of the best that we could do. But I appreciate you asking me to be here. I think all of you know me, so I don't know that I need to introduce myself, but I will ask you to please interrupt me and ask any questions. I really want this to be whatever information it is that you want from me about what's happening on the court's floor and with the state of the courts. So I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, but I did put together a presentation, but I'm absolutely not married to it, so we can go off script, no problem, okay? I always like to start out with you by giving you an overview of the state judicial system. Of course, we are, the judicial branch in Minnesota and very proud to be a member of the judicial branch, the third branch of government. This year, we got a new Chief Justice, and that is Natalie Hudson. Natalie Hudson was an Associate Justice for quite a few years, before that a Court of Appeals judge. And she, of course, was sworn in to replace Chief Justice Lloyd Gilday, who after many years as the Chief Justice and an Associate Justice retired. Justice Hudson not only brings experience, but kind of a different outlook on the branch. But still the branch is moving forward with a lot of innovative projects. Our case filings we have in the branch, we had just under 1 million case filings for the state last year. The budget for the branch is $866 million. So much money. And it's such a teeny little part of the pie too. When I look at the whole pie, I'm like, that's so much money. 866 million. We have 2,500 full-time employee positions in the branch. And of course, there are 87 counties, all of which have a courthouse that does business. Our vision is to provide justice through a system that assures equal access for the fair and timely resolution of cases and controversies. So we are a national leader in innovation. The Minnesota Judicial Branch, we are well known for our innovation, and many states copy us. Our state court administrator just won a national award for innovation in providing justice to the citizens of the state of Minnesota. In 2024, the Judicial Council, which, as you know, is the governing body of the branch, chaired by the Chief Justice, just passed a framework for how we go forward with our one court vision in handling hearings, whether they be remote or in person. So what we found was that after the pandemic, we were leveraging our ability to do court remotely. We use Zoom for that process, but we did find that it was being leveraged very differently across the state. And it is, to the extent possible, the desire of the judicial branch to try to have kind of a one court experience when people come. We know that isn't going to always be the way it is because of the differences in the makeup of the counties and the districts, but that's sort of the goal. And so a huge project was undertaken to come up with a framework for what was presumptively in person and what was going to be presumptively remote. And that takes effect in February. I actually served as a facilitator of some work groups made up of judges and administrators and other involved individuals to set up a recommendation for that framework. It's a very daunting task, as you can imagine, after the pandemic, which has now been over, for quite a while, everybody kind of settled into the way they did business. And any attempt to change that, was met with a lot of resistance from judges in particular. We're very forceful people. And, they're like, this is how we do it and it's working great. And so I tried to steer that ship a little bit. There were 3 different sessions that we had. We had tons of statistics and evidence and information from justice partners to judges, staff, litigants, lawyers. I mean, when we tried to, kind of gather that all up and come up with a plan, which we now have. We were allowed to ask for deviation requests, and in Pine County or in the PIC, right, that we're in an assignment area, Pine, Iceni, Chisago, Kanabec. We actually did ask for a deviation, which we got with, in no small measure, as a result of the work of Amy Willard, our court administrator. And I want to give Mr. Frederickson his due. He wrote an absolutely wonderful letter supporting our vision for a deviation request because of our unique circumstances and our kind of remote area. It seems like remote hearings work better when you are in a remote area, or we can leverage them better. So we'll see what happens in February. It's going to be an interesting transition. Anytime we transition, there can be some angst, as it were. Our state committees, Pine County, the judicial branch in Pine County does have some presence at the state level. Amy serves as the court operations advisory work group member, a criminal and juvenile justice information, and bureau and criminal apprehension and advisory group member. So she's doing state work. As I told you, I was asked to be a facilitator for the work group on the one court hearing framework. I also serve as a mentor judge for new judge orientation. That's a week-long training program for new judges appointed in the state of Minnesota. And I spend all week with those with those judges, myself and one other mentor judge. I do that once a year. And I just got back on Friday and it's exhausting, but we have the judiciary is in great shape. We have some really remarkably talented judges coming on. There've been a lot of retirements. I think we probably see that across all sort of areas of life, right? Like a lot of retirements. That's true with the branch as well. We had, how arrogant of me when I say the branch, I'm talking about the judicial branch, but we just call ourselves a branch. Like we're the only one. We're the whole stool. But the judicial branch has had a lot of retirements. In Anoka County, which is in our district, the governor just appointed 4 new judges, all at the same time, because there were 4 retirements out of that county. So it's a big deal. It's a lot going on. So we try to get these new judges up and running as quickly as we can. Judge Nguyen teaches new judges across the state child protection. She does come to that program as well and teaches child protection to the new judges. Any questions about what's going on at the statewide?
Judge, Commissioner Lovegren is on the state committee for ICWA and has talked about having ICWA judges or judges who hear ICWA cases. I'm just curious from the branch perspective, what are you hearing about that and how do you see that playing out?
So that's an interesting question. We have, I'm going to say from my experience of being a Children's Justice Initiative judge and serving on the Judicial Council for 6 years, I know there have been many iterations of how we move forward with Indian Child Welfare Act cases and child protection in particular. There has been a real attempt to get some subject matter specialists out there within the judicial branch. And so judges that specialize in child protection, because there's it is very statutorily driven. The timelines are very tight. You're trying to make decisions quickly. It is a different way of doing court. As you know, most of our court hearings are adversarial, right? You have a plaintiff, you have a defendant, they have different positions, and the judge is the one that kind of, makes the decision. In child protection court, you kind of start out with the idea, certainly there is an adversarial perspective to it, but really everybody wants the kids to be reunited if they can. And so you really come at it with a very different vision, particularly when we deal with our children who are ICWA designated, because the whole purpose is to keep Indian families together and intact. In fact, if we have an ICWA child, the standard is even higher, not just for removing children from that home, but also for making decisions about child protection and termination of parental rights, which is really not favored by almost all of the tribes that I have had contact with. They prefer placement to a relative. So in any event, it's been going on for a long time. I think we have kind of picked up that gauntlet some in the PIC, and we designated 2 judges to be child protection judges. I don't think we have enough ICWA cases to really parse that out and say, oh, we're just going to have one judge do ICWA. But these are judges that are doing a lot of child protection, and so they are ICWA specialists. We also make sure that the attorneys that deal with these families understand and are trained in the Indian Child Welfare Act and its requirements. So, of course, we also have the Minnesota Indian Family Preservation Act as well that we deal with, which is somewhat similar, I think, to ICWA in most regards. So what we have done is, designated these 2 judges, and then Judge Brosnahan, who's over in Isanti, she is planning to leave the bench next year, to retire from the bench next year. And in anticipation of that, come January, Judge Nguyen is going to be the child protection judge for all 4 counties. And so I think we are picking up on the vision of the branch, the judicial branch, and the vision of the justice partners and those who work in the ICWA community to really have a case specialist. And Judge Nguyen is a case specialist. And she has developed great relationships with the attorneys the county attorney, the family attorneys, the social workers, both for Pine County and for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. And she is an expert, a specialist. In fact, that's why she teaches CHIPS, right, to new judges. how that looks going forward, I mean, I think we're there with regard to an ICWA specialist with Judge Nguyen, but I think there's still room for some, and, for some innovation and some changes. And I know Commissioner Lofgren is very involved in that project, and I did tell her to get a hold of Judge Nguyen. And of course, I will also mention to Judge Nguyen your interest and ask her to reach out to you. The question was, should we be doing these cases in person? Because we are doing them, a lot of them remotely. Anytime we have an evidentiary hearing, anytime we take evidence or make factual determinations based on contested evidence, we do that in person, just so you know. But a lot of hearings are quick in and out, you're making quick decisions on, is there going to be, a trial home visit, and are we going to continue the out-of-home placement? And so a lot of those decisions can be made remotely. And we do find that our justice partners like remote hearings for most of those things, and that we get better participation from our families, including our families who are members of the Ojibwe Nation, which is the primary band that we have, that we deal with. So that's where we are. I think we are innovative. We are cutting edge in the PIC when it comes to those things. That's how I feel about it. The 6th District also, Judge Tarnowski up in the 6th District, she had an ICWA court. She was, won awards for her ICWA court. And for those of you who don't know, you probably don't know, Judge Tarnowski and I were best buds, and she was killed 2 years ago in a tragic traffic accident in Florida. And so she left a huge hole. And I think a lot of people in her memory are really wanting to take this project and make sure it doesn't fall away. So yeah, she was a remarkable lady. Anything else about that? Okay. Then let's talk about what's going on in the 10th District and our PIC assignment area. We have a new chief judge, was Judge Hillius. Do any of you know Judge Hillius? He lives in Pine County with his family. He actually was our chief judge. He's chambered in Kanabec. And then his term ended, and our new chief judge for the district is Elizabeth Strand, and she's chambered in Wright County. We have a self-help center that is very robust in the 10th District that does provide services in Pine County to self-represented litigants. You may know this. We have a lot of self-represented litigants, a lot of folks that just can't afford attorneys, primarily, of course, in civil and family type cases, because the public defenders are available for criminal folks who can't afford to hire an attorney. The Self-Help Center last year served 367 Pine County litigants. So they provided services with regard to how to access forms, how to fill out forms, how to file documents with the court, where to go for resources and support. And so far this year, we've had 395 Pine County citizens who've received services from the Self-Help Center. So it's a very robust situation.
Yep, go ahead, yeah.
Judge Nguyen, where is it?
Judge
Martin, I said it, I'm sorry.
Terrible.
Young and pretty, I think.
They're twins. Anyway, I'll blame it on my eyes.
Not wait to tell us.
That self-help center,
Mhm.
connected at all with legal aid service?
It is not, and that's a really good question. So legal aid is actually for Pine County. The legal aid services come from Justice North, and they're officed out of Duluth. That's their big office. We actually do have a legal aid office in Pine City that serves Pine and Kanabec counties. They run what we call the volunteer attorney program. So they do families, primarily family and some public benefits work and evictions for people who are unable to hire attorneys and that meet their service criteria. And then they also will get folks volunteer attorneys if they're unable to, provide those services in-house. The Self-Help Center is actually funded by the 10th Judicial District. It is a project of the judicial branch in the 10th District. And so there is a statewide self-help center that is funded through state funds. But the 10th District, probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now, has it been that long? Been a while. Decided that we needed a more kind of local support. And it has really grown. They call themselves, that's the Litigant Services Program. And so, yeah, it's paid for by the 10th District out of their budget from the state.
And where are they located? Where does somebody get a hold of them?
So they have office hours in Pine County every other Tuesday morning. Amy, is that
They're here for a full day, I believe, on Tuesdays. I think it's
every Tuesday? Every
Not
other.
every Tuesday, every other. Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday, they're in Pine County. They send a lawyer that works for this litigant services program to Pine County. And then they have a little dedicated space right by court administration, so people can use the court administration window. They have a space to talk to them. However, the litigant services director told me that most of their services are still provided via email and phone call. So they get a lot of, people can call. I actually will put the phone number for the self-help center right in my court orders. So people will come in and they'll provide me with something that, is not right. And I'll say, you can call the self-help center if you need help with these forms, and we give them the number. So they're posted all over the building, and court administration liberally hands it out. Also, law enforcement has a card that they give out to folks with civil disputes, and that number's on there as well. Anything else about the self-help center? Am I boring? I feel like I'm being.
No,
I know you guys expect me to come and be like Shecky Green, right? There's nothing funny happening this year. Nothing funny is going on. So let's see, we have an early neutral evaluation program. We started that in 2011 in the PIC, and we recently consolidated all the district programs. I'm on that committee. There was a lot of meetings about that, but we have one consolidated early neutral evaluation program now for families who are going through divorce or custody cases who it's not mediation, but it's an alternative to mediation, and it is kind of administered through the judicial branch, through the 10th district. So it's a really great program. Some folks opt out and go to mediation, and that's fine too. Let's see, we in Pine County have been giving time to Anoka. As I said, Anoka had 4 retirements. And they're underjudged based on their case statistics. So we spent 12 judge days since July in Anoka County. It feels like most of those were me. Is that right? I don't know. They're like, you can have Judge Martin. She'll come. So we've been doing them in person, that is an embarrassing, funny story. I got stuck in the Anoka County Courthouse and could not find the exit. So that was super humiliating, and I just walked around like a little rat in a maze. That building is so bad. It's so hard to find your way anywhere. And finally, I was rescued by one of my colleagues who was a little she was a little bit exasperated with me because I'm like, I can't find the exit. But she's like, and then I felt like that old lady, this way, Judge Martin, look at you.
Violations down there or something?
So, huh?
Some code violations they should look into for signage above your.
I think what the problem is that the problem to me, what happened is, for me anyway, they've kind of got it on lockdown. So they have one entrance and one exit because everybody has to go through security, right? So my mistake was that I come into the building and one of my colleagues was coming in at the same time, and he took me through the secret corridor with his badge. So happy day. But I couldn't get back out through the secret corridor because I didn't have the badge. So then, and they're like, just go back to where security is. But I didn't know where that was so I just roamed around for a while until I finally figured it out. Most people come in that way and they know to go out that way. So, because there's just one entrance and one exit now to the building. Yeah. So anyway. One wonders if you can't find your way out, right? Should you be there at all? I can't go back. We do some things remotely for Anoka as well. And to be honest, we are in the process, Judge Stefan and Judge Wynn and I, in consultation with Amy, are trying to come up with a plan to actually help out more. Our case filings are down. And so we really feel like we have an obligation to offer to do more work for Anoka. So we're working on how we can do that long term. So we are busy at the district level as well. I serve on the district pro bono committee and the district early neutral evaluation committee. My committee assignments are dwindling by intention. I'm sort of working my way towards retirement. And so I try not to take on new jobs or new committee assignments if I can help it. Judge Nguyen, however, is in the middle of her career. We all know Judge Nguyen has been much spoken of, and she's a very busy judge. She's the co-chair of the District Committee for Equality and Justice. That's a very big job. Also, she's the district representative to the Minnesota District Judges Foundation. And she is the lead CJI judge for the Pitt counties. And then, as I said, she's going to start handling all the CHIPS cases in January. Judge Steffen serves on the District Administration and Finance Committee. And Amy is on is the co-chair of the 10th Administrators Group and the Judicial Resources, Human Resources Committee member, and also on the Court Reporter Labor Management Committee. Locally, I serve on the Pine County Law Library with Commissioner Moore, always a fun time. And with Mr. Frederickson as well. And sometimes I think they wish I was gone because I like to talk. Like, we're going to be done and, oh, no, Judge Martin showed up. A little bit longer. Judge Nguyen is the chair of the Pine County Criminal Justice Committee, and she also participates in the Pine County Restorative Justice Committee, and they're working on securing a grant to enhance restorative practices for juveniles in Pine County. I think you're probably involved in that too, right, Mr. Frederickson? So he probably has more information about that. And then Judge Steffen actually took over my job as the chair of the local courthouse security committee. And that committee has recently submitted, are any of you on that committee? And maybe the sheriff? The sheriff is, yeah, okay.
Commissioner Ludwig is.
Oh, Commissioner Ludgren. That's Ludwig, that's a great committee for you. Yeah. So that committee, apparently you just submitted a request for some money from the state secure and safe courthouse funding. So see how that goes. That'll be nice. In Pine County, our case filings have decreased slightly since 2023 in all areas except civil. That's increased by about 150 cases. We've had a lot of technology problems in the courtrooms, I'm just going to tell you, and I don't think that's your problem, just so you know. You do the brick and mortar part, but I think the technology is the judicial branch's issue, and it's stressful. I'm going to say it's been very stressful. The last case that I tried, things went pretty well. The case before, all courtrooms just shut down. So we had no technology in courtrooms. I want to give a shout out to Lauren Dwyer from the county attorney's office and my court reporter and Amy's staff. I don't know, were you in the building that day, Amy? I mean, no, it was nuts. We were in the middle of a very serious felony and the technology just shut down. So we ended up going to like the boneyard of stuff, TV screens and computers, and ran cords all over the place. I mean, when it goes down, like microphones, like we don't have any way to record the proceedings. I mean, it was awful. But we somehow, not me, I did not know anything. I just was like, I don't know, does this connect somewhere? I think I hope I don't trip over. I mean, I'm just like, but oh man, I mean, Lauren was putting her exhibits up on this giant old ITV screen and it was just so jerry-rigged, but honestly, we got through it, but we've had a lot of technology. So if you hear from your constituents that they were on jury duty and it was kind of crazy, that might be part of it. It's like, really, like I said,
If I could just, Judge Martin.
yes.
On the technology, I just want to credit Amy, because it's been several years now that you really led the effort to get a contract vendor to do the maintenance and help with that. And that has made all the difference. So if that ever comes up for discussion and budget cuts, it can't be cut if you're going to continue to use technology.
Just re-up the contract, which I was gonna say too,
They're coming
yes,
today.
they are coming, but your IT staff have been phenomenal. With coming, helping and doing what they can. It was getting to the point where they were there all the time, so.
Yeah, I mean, I started feeling like I should buy them lunch or something. Actually, I should have credited your IT folks from the county. They're not responsible for that, but because we had to like run cords and they came up too and helped us out. It was it was a all hands on deck effort, and I don't think that, I mean, the jurors were, I certainly told them, hey, we've had some technology issues, so things look a little different. But we got through it. We got through it just fine. Actually, right before I left the building today, I have a jury trial starting this afternoon. I'm going to pick a jury this afternoon. And right before I left the building, my in-court associate, Alex, who used to work in the jail, he came in and said, courtroom A is down, Judge. We're moving to courtroom B. And I'm just like, oh, God. Okay. So we'll see how it goes, right? Our staff is working very hard. There are 11 of them. We only have 4 staff people in Pine County that have been with us since before the pandemic. So we have a really new crew, and it's been a lot of training for Amy, and we have training issues. So, but they're working hard, and they also process in Pine County all the criminal casework for the 4 Pitt counties. And then they also staff the 3 judges' hearings. So we each have a staff person who's assigned to us for our hearings. We've done some piloting of state and district projects, record requests, e-check-in, and centralized Rule 20 examiner assignments. And then our self-help center and Pine County Court Administration attended the Pine County Community Connect event. I think you guys were involved in that. That was on August the 21st in Hinckley, and they connected with about 50 people where they provided information and resources about the branch and self-help services. So that was a really successful event and outreach process. So we are busy. We're working hard. Do you have any questions for me? I'm out of funny stories. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Are you feeling comfortable with the safety of the building?
That's a good question. I feel like that I'm safe when I'm in my chambers. Getting to my chambers might be scary sometimes. I've stayed in the building before when I've had somebody that I thought was scary. The bailiffs are great when they're there, but they're only there when we have in-person hearings, so that's not all the time. And I also worry about moving about the building because there's no centralized screening. It's one of the only courthouses that I've ever been to without going through screening, without when you enter the building. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know what the reason is for that. And I'm not trying to, but it is, when you move about the building and you kind of leave that, because the only screening, the weapons screening that we have, of course, is right when you come into where the courtroom doors are. So before that, there's the bathrooms and court administration and the county attorney's office and the jury assembly room. And, none of that is secure, right? And we try some really, we've had some high profile cases, and we've had some very cases where there's been people that have been, I'm not talking about the participants. I'm talking about the folks that just show up, right? That we don't know who they are. They're not on any list of, and we have open court. That's fine. But that's the stuff you just can't really, it makes you nervous, you don't know who's out there or what they're doing. And so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the situation. Anything else? Well, thanks for inviting me. I hope to get back a little earlier next year. Try to keep track of some funny stories. Did you have anything you wanted to tell about before? Oh, I covered it. Good. Well,
Thank you, Judge Martin.
seeing all.
Thank you, Judge Mark.
Sorry, before I go, I just want to tell you, I know you guys don't get Minnesota lawyer. You probably do though, Reese, don't you? And I can leave this one if you're interested. But there is, and the last time I was here, we talked about remote hearings, and I think Commissioner Lovgren and I had that conversation before we started. And there's a whole article in here about remote hearings. We get this once a week. It's our, kind of the update on what's going on with the law and cases and lawyers and that kind of stuff. And there's a whole article about remote hearings being a game changer for rural access to justice. So if you're interested, can I leave this for you? Okay.
I'll make sure everybody gets a copy.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Everybody. I'm always available. If you have any other questions or you want to reach out, you can email me or call me or drop by the chambers. Okay, or if you want to come back and visit us, if you want to come to court and watch, please do. We're happy to have really anytime. You're welcome in our courtrooms, our Zoom court, whatever you, if you want to watch child protection court, just check in with Judge Nguyen. So you are welcome in the building. Okay.
For your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are going to move on to the Land Advisory Committee. You want to start this one, Matt?
Yeah, I can. We had our meeting on October 22nd. A lot of things were discussed, and these are the things we are recommending to put forward. Anyway, there was new tax forfeiture online auction. It's with the whole new law, we're thinking about going to an online auction, so we're consider putting all the new tax forfeitures on the online auction unless the county auditor finds that the property would be more suitable for an in-person and adjoining landowner sealed bid auction. And then the something we've been working on for quite a while is the memorial forest dedication to the veterans. And so today we're going to consider approval of resolution 2024-55. And that's a resolution dedicating the memorial forest lands in honor of our military veterans. Then we have the Sandstone Trail project, which is the snowmobile trail that connects from the Grindstone Lake Road, the one that comes into Sandstone, that blacktop. And it was a joint venture about 20 years ago. Between the county, I think it was Minnesota Power maybe was even involved with that and some other group, but they made a snowmobile trail and they connected into the city. That became in disrepair, and then we have that trail, Parks and Trail, part of our tax forfeiture sales. So we recommend supporting that project up to $79,250 with the city taking the other half. And then with that, they applied for a grant to help the cost. So if the grant comes through and those dollars come in, we'll share that grant 50-50 to backfill the dollars we spent.
Weren't they hoping that maybe Sandstone Township and the Del Grove Township might also give a little bit towards that?
Oh, okay.
I think that was part of it too.
Okay, yeah. So then the Matthew Laurie State Trail, that's an agreement we have. So we're consider entering into an updated agreement with the Department of Natural Resources for the Matthew Laurie State Trail contingent upon the state providing updated maps because their mapping on the trail is a little bit off. And then Department of Natural Resources requests to purchase a tax forfeited parcel ID number 08.0131.00. And that we considered denying that current offer and move to put it forward to the public auction. Just because they kind of lowball off of our appraised value. And we'll see what happens with that. With that, I will make a recommendation to approve those. Do you want me to keep going on other things we talked about, or do you want to handle that first?
Let's do this first.
Do it first.
This first, yeah.
So I recommend to move those forward.
A motion by Matt,
Also,
second by Josh. Okay. Let's open it up for discussion. Does anybody have any discussion on the online auctions for the new properties that are coming up as tax forfeited?
Yeah, I got two things, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
That ties into the whole dedication and everything else. Guess we'll just start at the beginning. It says, and Land Commissioner Beck wasn't available to be here today. Or he wasn't.
He's right there, and he was at the meeting.
Okay, here it is. It says here, Beck noted he sent out letters to 18 townships regarding the memorial forest dedication. 2 responses. So there's only any more come in since this was printed or just?
no, Yeah, we did bring that out to, all of our townships that, have memorial forests
Oh, great.
within their.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. We did, send out notices to 18 townships that have the, county memorial forest lands within their jurisdiction. Arna Township had two individuals that, I have my notes here on that, that responded. There was some confusion over what we were looking at doing, and their main concern was that we were not adding to the memorial forest acreage, but we were retaining what we've been managing for the last 30, 50 more years than that. And then there was also a comment from one of the citizens that they were wanting the designation to be brought forward and up front, that our veterans were totally involved in this, and with Mindy's assistance on that, and bringing it to the DAV, American Legion, and the DIW, it was very well reviewed by them and passed. And then there was one in Kettle River Township, there was also a comment from a citizen that saw that we were part of the memorial dedication was the boat landing on Fox Lake. And he was interested in purchasing the boat landing, which at that point they mentioned to him that our county board would probably not be very supportive of selling a boat landing on a public lake. Other than that, we had no comments at all on our designation as a conservation memorial forest, and also the dedication to our veterans, our military veterans.
All right, yeah, because I guess I would just hate to rush into this. I mean, you mentioned 30 to 50 years right now, we've been managing these lands. And we've had a bid go out for example, the building up there in northern Pine County, and only one person even turned in for a bid. I don't know if the mail gets lost or the carrier pigeon doesn't fly on the right day or whatever, but
What parcel, may I ask, was that?
that was the one up at the
What you're talking about,
building that was built by the recycle center.
River one?
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like the communication must not be getting out there. I mean, to send out 18 letters and have 2 responses, it'd be nice. I mean, I'd like to see more responses.
yeah. If I could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah.
We also, when we classify properties as non-conservation with the intent to sell these properties, tax-worthy properties, we also send out to the township or the cities, if it's in the city limits, a review of those parcels to be sold. And if there's any comments or questions or reason for denial, that they would contact either myself or the county, and then it goes through the county board. And even on the sales over all these years of selling hundreds and maybe even, well, thousands of acres of tax forfeit lands over all these years, very rarely do we ever get comment even on that. They do their due justice and review the parcels. But if they don't have any questions, they do not send any comments back.
I think the thing that Mindy got a lot of comments back from our military.
Oh, absolutely.
So you heard from a lot of people. So we did get a lot of correspondence back, just not from the townships. Steve?
But
This is really good, the memorial forest thing. To me, the veterans, to designate it veterans is something that I kind of dreamed of 18 years ago when I got on the board, that we used to open up a plat book and it said tax forfeited land for years. And we got it into memorial forest, and it was always my idea to memorialize those forests
in somebody's name. And I think this is better than picking one person and calling them whatever the name.
Greg Beck Memorial.
Yeah, that.
That was awesome. But to do it in memory of our veterans, I think is a great tribute. And I thank the land committee and Greg and Mindy for their work on getting it to this point. So I'm excited about that.
Can I read a little bit on that, Steve? So back in 1990, when some of us were still in high school. But that's when I started working for Pine County. And
Elementary.
I was working for the county, then you're good.
But the county had 50,000 acres plus of tax forfeit lands. And over the years, we sold some, and then probably like about 10 years ago or so, we still had about 48,000 acres tax forfeit lands. And if we kind of determine who was in the driver's seat at the time, if we were gonna sell anything or if we we're gonna hold back and retain it. So it was thought at that time that it would be really good to have a focus on what we are going to be retaining and what we're going to be selling. So through our advisory committee, as well as county board and others, there was certain criteria that we looked at to retain properties and then to sell the remainder of them. So at that time, we had about 48,000. And to date now, I think it's like, don't quote me on it, but it's like 36,800 maybe has been memorialized. And the remaining of it has been sold or will be sold. In the process of our management, we've had a lot of others that have been very prominent in getting to where we are right now. One of them is our townships. They're our partners, the memorial forest lands that are in their jurisdiction, so to speak, in their backyards. And then also the DNR, trails, forestry, wildlife, those that we've worked with, Minnesota Deer Hunters Association. We've recently had projects with them as well as American Bird Conservancy. And our memorial forests are by law allowed to be designated as such for the purpose of long-term forest management and to take a little step further than that with public recreation as well. And without the harvest of our timber and our logging community, which I would like to bring up, none of this would occur. So see a pulp truck running down one of our back roads and that, you understand that they're extremely part of Pine County Memorial Forest. Well, so when we did the designation of our memorial forest lands, it was somewhat assumed that it was already in law, state law somewhere, that it was going to be dedicated to our military vets, much as Memorial Day is designated to those who lost their life serving our country. But lo and behold, we find out it isn't. So here we stand today, and I find it rather interesting that those are military veterans who have stood up for our freedoms of what we can have in America today. On voting day, one of our greatest treasures, and here we are to acknowledge and honor our military vets on voting day through our memorial forest lands. And the ball started out small and started rolling down the snow, the snow bank, the hill. And as it's been picking up speed, our snowball is getting larger and larger. And a lot of people have been involved in this, and it's really interesting to see where this is going. And just as the snowball goes down the hill, it gets faster and faster. This seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And I don't know if Mindy would like that. David has a little bit on the veterans of this, because this is what this is all about. So
You like this?
Yeah, if you could, from so many veterans on what we're doing, I think that it would be good to get that. Absolutely.
When Greg brought this first to me, I had all the commanders and had a meeting here at the building and brought them in, and I had a slide presentation. I explained what this was all about, and Greg and I were here. And then they took it back to their VFW, American Legion, DAV, and brought it to them. Then if anybody had any questions, they would call me. And so there was some questions. When Greg first made up the signs, there was different words used. And a few of us got together and came up with for your courage, honor, and commitment. That's pretty much the only thing we request to be changed. Otherwise, it was a tremendous feedback of veterans thinking that this is an honor. We had, of course, the skeptics that are like, well, what's in it for me? Or who's doing this for political gain? But they were good. So yeah, they had a lot of good feedback and a lot of positive attitude about it.
I think it's such an honor to honor them with this, an honor for us to be able to say thank you and to donate this or dedicate this to them just for what we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our vets.
Absolutely.
But not.
Absolutely. And just one more thing that we talked about, Greg and I kicked around the idea of having one be the Air Force Memorial and one be the Navy and one be the Army and the Marines. And then we thought about just having it overall veterans, because the person from Pine City might not necessarily travel to Bruno to see the Air Force Memorial for us. And then when you're driving through on your snowmobile and you see that sign, that's the Veterans Memorial. So
Coast Guard also.
Coast Guard and the Space Force. Absolutely. So, all right,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So are there any other questions on the memorial for us?
Yeah, I can continue, if I can, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Just the urgency of this now, I mean, of course, thank you. Everybody here. We all agree on this. Honor veterans for everything, certainly myself, of course. But just there's so many other things, valuation, we actually had a piece of land that was forfeited wrong. And it never should have been forfeited. There was a piece up in my district, Windermere. And it's still, maybe Reese could, if he could, not trying to put him on the spot, but with everything that has to be settled yet with forfeited land, I understand there's cases going on now where people can submit claims and they can appeal some decisions yet. And this still isn't resolved by any stretch.
This is all land that forfeited way back, and this doesn't have anything to do with the Tyler versus Hennepin lawsuit. So this is land that will not be contested or questioned.
Okay, if the title work is correct, if all of a sudden a piece doesn't show up that was
Yeah.
a wrong legal description like we already went through.
Yeah.
I mean, was everything completely researched that there isn't another parcel that's gonna pop up that someone's gonna say, hey, this is actually still deeded to me, and I know they don't want to be in a predicament to now be the person taking something from, a memorial forest that's just what has been.
I believe the Memorial Forest land has all been done long before and is past that statute of limitations.
So we know that for a fact then.
Yeah.
If you come to the mic.
Yeah, over the years of managing our tax forfeit lands, along with our auditor's office in conjunction with them, occasionally we do have a mistake that comes up. It just happens. We're all humans and mistakes do occur. And unfortunately, they do occur, but we do the best effort to try to fix. one of the questions at the very first Veterans Service meeting came from Kurt Rossall. It's interesting. He's a vet. And also he was up in front in one of your seats here.
District 4, yep.
Yep, as a county commissioner. And he was on our advisory committee, and I would say he was our critic, because he was wondering what's the sense of all of this. And after he saw what it involved, he was sold on it. But when I saw him last at Mindy's meeting, Kurt asked me, he said, well, what if we decide to sell some of this land in the future? He says, right now, there are some individuals that think that we should possibly sell some county lands. And just because it's memorial forest land does not mean the county board in the future cannot make the decision to sell this property. It's still available to be sold. The county board has made a little bit of a difference in how it's done by having a public hearing in the event we want to sell it. But by encompassing all of our properties under the dedication to all of our military vets, and not, like Mindy had mentioned, one unit possibly for the Air Force, one for the Army. We don't have units, so if the county board were to ever want to sell some, it's not like we're selling the Korean War veterans unit or something. We'll probably always continually have some memorial forest lands, because it does make sense. Whether we sell some in the future or possibly add to them, that's a county board decision. And then also to answer your question, JJ, was that I believe all these lands are from they are all from 2016 forfeitures or land exchanges before, and they don't fit into the 2016 and forward ones, which the state has settlements on, and as well as new law changes. And if by some chance we ever did make a mistake on one of these properties.
There's no legal description or anything yet.
Yeah,
So many, I mean, there's.
We can through the county board and our auditor's office, we can make it right. And just because it's labeled memorial forest lands does not put it into anything beyond what can be fixed. So. Does that kind of answer questions a little bit on that?
This part of it, and then I'd like to adjust the valuations. It seems like on the one portion of this, the county has a valuation of 26,400, and the DNR had it appraised at 15,000. I mean, that's just a big spread of price.
Oh, you're looking at that parcel.
Different piece of this?
Yeah, I like I said, I just read it at the beginning here, so.
You want me to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, if you could, yes, it might save you a trip to the.
Can we do the resolution vote and get that off the table and then move on to the
So
item?
Matt, your motion, and Josh, your second, was to do all of those. So the tax forfeiture going online when it was approved by Kelly, memorial forest dedicating to the veterans, the Sandstone Trail project, considering up to 79,250 for the dedicated parks and trails to go on that trail. The Matthew Lowry State Trail, getting the map upgraded on that and redoing that contract with them. And the Department of Natural Resources request to purchase and denying that. So that the motion included all of those.
Oh. It was already seconded.
We're still in the discussion part, but I like the way you were doing it. You were going A, B, C, D.
Right.
So technically we're on B, still in the discussion.
But his motion was for all of them.
Yep,
Yeah.
and my
So,
second was.
Okay. So, because of that, maybe we want to finish talking about E and then we can do the vote.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, can I add to the B a little bit before we move on?
Yes, please.
So one of the things I'd just like to say is this started a long time ago, actually, this discussion. I believe it, this hasn't been nothing rushed for, by no means, especially in the county where things don't happen overnight. This has been, has it been a year in talk or?
And well, it's started 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I know we've been talking about it here for over a year,
yeah.
at this table.
I know it got to, I heard rumblings of it and went to one meeting about it. And to not make a decision because potentially there could have been a mistake made is absolutely, I don't think that's what the county board wants to do because that, we would never do nothing. I mean, if we didn't act on anything because of, there's potentially a mistake happened 50 years ago, 40 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago. I mean, why would we have resolutions and pass them? So them are my comments on B.
Okay.
So we have to vote on the whole thing, including the valuations and the.
Evaluation of that E. So, yep. So why don't you, the question on that was the difference in value.
Yeah, so
Which affects every piece. I mean, ideally,
But we're only talking about the one on this motion.
yeah, we're just, okay, so, item E here, 0.080131.000 is a 40-acre parcel in the Changwatana State Forest. Bordered on 3 sides by the state forest lands, bordered on 1 side by private, extremely hard and remote to get to. The state, this one went forfeit maybe like 2021. So it is in the bucket, if you want to call it a bucket list for the state settlement properties. So the state wants the counties to sell these properties at the estimated market value and then reimburse the fund of 109 million that they're paying out for the lawsuits that occurred. So anyway, we can sell it to the state DNR, and if we were, that money that we would receive, 75% would have to go to the Department of Revenue to cover that. But when the state DNR did an appraisal on this, it came in this summer at $15,000. The county has $30,400 on it as an estimated market value. The committee decided to move forward with selling it at public auction at $30,400 and denied the state DNR purchase at 15 because the committee decided to stay in spirit, so to speak, of the new statutes that to try to get as much as we can for the properties to reimburse these funds. So that's where we're going to head with this. And 75% of that would be returned to the state when we sell it, and 25 gets to be retained by the county. But it's just that one parcel, that 140 acres. It has nothing to do with any of the memorial forest lands or anything.
well, yeah, I guess the way it was presented to me and when I listened to constituents and some of them are veterans, there's a valuation on all of it that we received tilt for.
Oh, correct.
Correct.
On the memorial forest properties? Correct. Yes.
Tilt is a smaller amount than is paid if it was in private ownership.
Not necessarily. A lot of times PILT is more.
Okay, that's what I'm presenting. So when you have big discrepancies like this, and I love the idea of an auction. I know you and I had spoke about it maybe a year or so ago. There was 2 small parcels the DNR had up in Henham. One was that 16-foot piece by, remember that, by an 80?
Yeah.
And the value we had at a county and we're receiving PILT off a value of $1,100. For probably the terms you're talking about, probably 30 to 50 years or whatever. It's sold for, I think, $11,000. I mean, they put an actual, and now it's in private ownership. I mean, making a good return for everybody, of course, including our veterans. It's just that's the stuff I think that really has to be looked at better. It's not just this parcel. It's every parcel that brings money into our county. There's such big discrepancies. I know if you were to go buy a piece of land or a house or a building or anything, you have their asking price. You have what you think you want to pay. you can get an appraiser.
Auction,
That's what I'm,
auctions are an interesting animal.
oh, you're right.
Sometimes they
Two people that want it. and they'll-
Yeah, and they get bid up. It's a bidding.
Yeah.
What's your access to get to your property? So you're willing to pay more for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. And then in the end, the taxpayer does.
So that's probably looking more up at, their online auctions with the committee. We looked at a couple different ideas and, committee decided that online auctions is for what, Pine County should be doing and looking into. So I'm thinking next year, that's what we're going to be accomplishing is, online auctions for our main auction post.
Are there any other questions on these? A, B, C, D, and E? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
What is your reason for abstaining?
Just like what I said, it's to lump all of them together. There could be a better discussion of what all this property value is. Not just this one piece. I mean, I'm talking the entire way we look at doing things.
Okay, well, my understanding for abstaining is that it has to affect you personally. Am I right on that, Reese? So you either need to say a yes or a no.
Or rescind. Are you following Robert's rule of order?
Well, I'm following, you can't abstain if it doesn't affect you personally.
You want to break this out into A, B, C, D, and E and vote on each one
The
individually?
motion was made for all of them.
I'll still abstain.
Any legal advice, please?
Sorry, well, it's past four.
I'm sorry, what?
Given you've got the four votes, I guess it's.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, now we'll talk about some of the other things that came up at the land committee meeting. Thank you, Reese. So, the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association were very gracious and they allocated $5,000 to do a parking lot in New Dozy Township and then to do some seeding. Which the pictures of it are phenomenal. What they were able to accomplish with that was great. And then we've got the 6 campsites in section 24 of Fleming Township are now open and they're being used. The small boat and access on Crooked Lake is being used. It was originally approved to utilize $11,000 of Parks and Trails, but it came in at $10,737.50. And the pictures of that were amazing too. They did a really good job. Do you want to talk a little bit about the city of Finlayson? Do you want to give an update to what you found out on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I didn't like your email, I'll let you talk about it.
What's that?
Since I didn't like your email, I'll let you talk.
Sure. Yes, there's always things that we do in our line of work that are not really all that enjoyable. And the old Finlayson Creamery is one of them. So that went forfeit back in 2021 maybe? Anyway, it went forfeit. And prior to that, the city had condemned it and then also looked into having it demoed. And I think the value was like $70 a time. They didn't do anything with that. They just let it go forfeit. So we stand at looking at what we need to do now that it is a forfeited property. And we need to remember that when something forfeits, that the county does not own it. It's the title is held kind of in limbo by the state of Minnesota until somebody actually purchases it. So being it is in the title is being held by the state of Minnesota, there are grants and such that are not available while it's in the tax forfeit status. So myself, David, Kelly Schroeder, Leslie Thotter, Dave Ocker from Finlayson, the mayor of Finlayson, and then a few other council members attended a meeting to decide what we might want to do. And we decided that the county would look into and seal the wells and then take care of any asbestos problems that were there. And then the city would purchase the property for $1 and then work through our Economic Development Authority, which is Leslie Sauter, for grants. And then what's will be available after that, the city and the county would split the cost of demolition and cleanup. Looked like it might be all right because the only thing that looked like had asbestos in it was some window glazing and some caulking around the doors. Not a big deal. And then wells, it looked like they might have been just typical wells that are inside the building. But through the looking into and the state picked this up because they looked at the asbestos survey and realized that the attic had not been done. So looking up there, it's like, well, there's no insulation. That's going to be good because usually some of that old insulation has asbestos in it. But the lining that's throughout the whole attic contains 80% asbestos. And the second level flooring is rotten and falling apart, as well as the attic. So it makes it extremely difficult to get up there and safe to remove this. That's where we're standing right now. We're kind of wondering what's the best option. The company that did the asbestos survey for us mentioned that because of the safety issues in that and seeing who might actually would remove it, which might be minimal to nobody interested in it, we may have to consider the whole building as asbestos, water it down as we're demolishing it, and then send everything to the demo landfill as asbestos material, which is very, very expensive. And so maybe there is a way we could get that liner out of there. I don't know. That's where my mind goes.
This is one of the things that AMC is working on, is being able to get money for blight to help take care of some of these things. So this will probably be presented to them. Go ahead, Josh.
Madam Chair, and this is what's frustrating about that law.
Right.
Because we used to take the money that we made, on some of them you make money, some of them you lose money. And this is going to be a huge loss. As a county, I believe that we should get it taken care of because what is it doing for us? But you know, if we were able to keep the money that we sold other parcels for, that to make a little money, that's where this money's coming from anyways already. I mean, we wouldn't have this money there unless we had this pot for the blight fund that we were taking out of other land sales. But now the state has stepped in and said, you can't keep it. And so potentially in the future that these, we thought were great ideas to give the money back to the landowner. Maybe we can sell it back or send a bill back to the landowner, but obviously they didn't pay their taxes. That's why I forfeited anyways, because they deemed it wasn't worth keeping. So it would cost more to clean up, but that's going on a rant about the law, which we can't change. So, but thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. So.
Question, Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes.
Yeah, since the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously on all this stuff, it's not just trying to make good of a bad situation. The wells that are there, I've also visited that site, spoke to the mayor. To those wells, he was actually going to check, see if they could somehow be utilized, because some of the old timers you talk to, they pick an area for a creamery, and that was its original use for. You pick an area that has great water, you know, and it's probably an 8 to 10 inch well. Is what I'm hearing. It just, we don't know where it is right now, this area of the building. So if there is actually, I don't know if that's recorded. It should be recorded at the county, shouldn't? The well information should be. And then that might be able, that might be able to be utilized yet for that city sewer and water system.
Yeah, I was told the city got city sewer and water back in the early 60s. So there probably are wells on the site. There was a thought that maybe it was outside, but there is a casing out there, but it doesn't go that deep, maybe 6 feet.
Okay.
I'm thinking that was probably for a signpost or something.
Putting,
I went inside and took a look around inside there. There is some casings coming out of the flooring, which I think one of them probably is some sort of groundwater well. Maybe not. It's extremely messy. And to try to look around is really tough. When we sealed the sandstone creamery wells, I think that might have been a little different of a establishment, but yeah, there was, I think some of those might have been 10 to 12-inch casings, and they went down really deep into the aquifers. I'm kind of thinking, well, I'm not. My gut feeling is that these wells are not at the same standard as the ones in sandstone, which is good.
Sure.
But I think we should address sealing wells after the demolition. Try to, locate the wells casings after the demolition. Because this, even if we were to seal them right now, the filth and health hazards of working in that building, I wouldn't want to send anybody in there on anything. I think it'd be easier to do it after.
Yeah, I would imagine we have to safeguard that well, that property that the county just put parking in east of Asco, because I think, was that well ever sealed out there? There was a well on that parcel also.
And I'm sorry.
I said should be some urgency, yes, to do something with the well, so when it does at least temporarily cover it, and then, reevaluate once the building's out of the way. And there was another well, it just jogged my memory, the property that they just put the parking in east of Asco. There was a well that was an old farm site. Was that well? And there was a open sewer there.
I don't think that was a forfeit parcel, was it?
Yeah, it was that one we just did, the parking out east.
What's that?
The parking on the land out east of Asco.
Oh, that parcel. Yeah, I think there's two wells out there. One is
Have they been sealed yet?
no, those haven't been. They're on the radar for the Minnesota Department of Health. We put out some bids to have them sealed years ago and nobody took it because they're way out there. And to be frank with you, I hate sealing a nice well. Eventually probably gonna have to do it because they cost so much to put them in.
Right.
And if there's an ability to use them, I think that would be important to utilize the wells. But no, the parking area out there does have a well out there. It's capped, but it's not sealed. At some point, we're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, they lock it so vandals don't do anything to it.
Yeah, but then also the Finlayson well, if there is one, or if it hasn't been. Yeah, you're correct that we may want to retain it for whoever purchases the property in the future. I mean, why seal something if it's gonna be utilized in the future? But the city does have city sewers, so we'd have to talk with them on that as well.
Madam Chair. I don't, some of the stuff we'll talk about, I think, when we decide to do something with the building, but what is the estimate of the cost to tear that thing down? Do we know?
Prior to its forfeiture which was maybe 5 years ago, I think it was in the $70,000 range.
Was that with asbestos or without asbestos?
That was with the current asbestos removal, which was just some glazing and caulking, but
It'll be quite a bit more.
now with the attic membrane, that's gonna be, who knows, probably double. I don't know.
All right.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Are there any other questions on any of the land? Report? If not, we will move on to the sheriff's office.
Good morning.
Hmm.
So the sheriff's office is looking into kind of the long-term future of the sheriff's office by looking at a command vehicle. And I know you guys got some information in your packet there. We won't go through all of that. But currently we need with how law enforcement is these days, is a vehicle that is more of a multi-purpose vehicle. A lot of times when we have SWAT callouts, we're also calling out a drone team or calling out a negotiations team. And unfortunately, we just don't have the workspace for those people to work at these different instances. And also with our large gatherings that occur, we have found a need for this type of vehicle. Obviously, we know where the county budget is, and for a price tag that this is, it's probably not something that we'd probably be able to fund here in the near future. But the vehicle that we have chosen is something that would last for about 25 years at least. And it is going to be built to where I'll know that technology is always changing, and it's going to be built to where it can meet those changes in technology as time goes on too. So what I'm doing right now is just trying to ask for the county board support and trying to seek outside funding for this type of vehicle. Some of the different outside funding that we are looking at requires county board support for that. So that's what we're seeking is Carl's support in. Any questions on?
Josh.
I got one, or just a comment. I appreciate you guys. I know we had a little discussion about this, I think in budget anyways, or maybe not. Anyways, I appreciate you guys doing it this way. When I talk to people about our budget and everybody's like, we need to have a lower budget. I spoke at the officers township meeting about how proud I am about our budget this year. But one of the things that comes into mind is everybody always wants to just say, you gotta have a zero levy or a minus levy or cut all this funding. You guys, and we talked to Jeff a lot and we pick on Jeff. It's easy to pick on your department. Because everything is $500,000. But when the sheriff and chief deputy come to us and say, this is a vital tool for us to save their lives, to save a person's life, to all that stuff. Do you put a price tag on it? You know, but that's real world stuff that we deal with on a yearly basis on our budget, you know, like the SWAT shields that were expired 10 years ago. I've used that as an example. Do you tell the sheriff's department that, no, we're not gonna, and we do, we tell you no, you know, a lot. And I appreciate that you guys don't take it personally, you know, and you don't come to us and say, if you don't buy this for us, someone's gonna die and, or we're not gonna do our job. You guys do your job. I seen SWAT in town today as I was going to work, you know, and it just is a sick feeling, you know, because of stupid, I think stupid, that your guys' lives get put in jeopardy for some idiot that, you know, is just a no good person that we don't want in this area anyway. So I kind of went way off subject there, but I do, it's personal and it's been personal a lot lately. And like I said, I use your guys' department as an example when I talk to people about what their tax money goes for.
Yeah, and it seems like as time moves forward, the amount of times that we're calling out our SWAT team when when we have to call out those additional resources seems to be happening more frequently. And because they happen more frequently and we want things to resolve peacefully because we want the community safe, we want our brothers and sisters in law enforcement safe. We also want the suspect to come out safe too. We don't want to hurt them too. Unfortunately, it really takes a team effort with groups of people in different disciplines to help come to those conclusions. And when you start adding those different pieces and then workspace to work out of to making sure that those things are resolved safely, I mean, you quickly outgrow the current equipment that you have. And, not even talking about even the SWAT calls, but we're also talking about our lost people. We're talking about natural disasters. And, I hope that you don't think that this is only a SWAT function, but it's very wide open.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So how is it, you have a van now that's just for the drones?
So right now, we originally bought a black transit van a few years ago that,
Wow.
no, what do you think, 4 years old? 5 years? The black transit van? Yeah, so when we originally got that vehicle, we had a purpose for it. And we figured out we're only gonna use it a few times a year. It's gonna last a long time. Well, now we have had law enforcement change over the last 4 to 5 years, and we found, okay, we're using this van way more than what we thought we were. And they also have the problem that the SWAT vehicle is an old retrofitted ambulance that's 34 years old. It is way past its lifespan. It was not meant for what it currently is at. So what if we take this black transit van that was originally purposed for this purpose? We're using it more and more. Replace the 34-year-old ambulance with a black transit van and then get this command vehicle that we know is going to last a lot longer.
I see. So then my other thing is that the equipment that you're gonna support your command vehicle, is that included in this price, all the computers and all that?
So what we do right now is, so part of the answer is yes, part of the answer is no. So the MDCs that are in our current computer right now, we can actually unplug them from our squad cars, plug it directly into there and have it over the screens. So that portion is, no, we do not. The stuff that we would have to add to it later would be like our police radios and the Starlink. And some of those are possibly could be purchased through emergency management grants and things like that.
And your drone will move into that.
Our drones will move into the van. There's actually inside there would be a stackable shelving system with plugins and everything else. And if this is something that we are looking, when we get to the point to where we do purchase it, it's about a 16-month waiting time from the time of the order till the time of completion.
How many?
I just think of technology all the time, and like you just said, it changed since you bought the black van.
Yep.
Now we're gonna spend $500,000 on what's gonna change by the time you know.
But the difference is originally the transit van was a vehicle that was bought off of the lot that we're going to make it work in this capacity. So when we're looking at a command vehicle and we're gonna purchase it with this idea, with the ever-changing in technology, we can wire it that way. So when different things change, it's much easier to change with times.
Okay. I understand.
I'm sure.
Yes.
So yeah, because I just see here, like in conclusion, you say you got the estimated vehicle, its life expectancy of 25 years, but the big thing is the technology changes so rapidly.
Yep.
So it's just like plugging your satellite dish at home because something new came in. You can have everything set up.
Everything is set up to where.
Change electronics is needed with.
Yeah, and obviously, we can't predict where technology is going to bring us from this time.
Gonna change.
20 years from now.
Right.
What we can do is our best thought on if this changes or this changes, how can we have this vehicle to where it's going to be the best cost effective to go at those times.
Gotcha.
Madam Chair, this is just an avenue for you guys to search out some external funds. So if the county board supports this, you guys can go to just say the casino, or you can come or have a fundraiser like the K9s or whatever to.
And the different grants or loans that are out there too, that want that letter of support from the county board as well.
Yep.
And it just be we'll just be on the support side after you get it.
Yeah.
Maintenance and that.
Yeah, so then the planning will proceed from there, obviously. This ain't, if it takes you 5 years to get to that point, obviously this could change a lot.
Yes.
But it's just something to put on paper to get going in that direction.
Yes.
And
Last thing go ahead.
I'm sorry.
The last thing we want to do is surprise you by going outside and somebody talking to you is saying, whoa.
Yep.
We want to be transparent about it.
Yep, no, thank you.
And this doesn't limit, like, what was the big vehicle you guys got, the MRAD or?
MRAP.
So if something like that came along, you can accept from a different government entity, a whole vehicle. You're not just searching just grants and
Yeah, we're looking more for a command vehicle that is able to deal with, different types of operation depending on wherever, it's got two separate rooms, so you can split different things up. Where like something like the MRAP is more specific on what.
Right, okay. I guess what I'm saying, if you're not just limiting to just getting grants. If, let's say the FBI said, hey, we have a sweet rig for you.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Of course, same kind of.
Yep.
I got you.
But then you have a whole different maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Those parts aren't available to, so are you looking at local style truck versus?
Yeah, so.
That's what I'm getting.
Basically, it's
That's
a,
expensive to support.
so basically it's an F.
550.
I can't talk, I'm tongue tied. F5. And, so that's the chassis, and then the box is gonna be built in towards the back of it.
I think it's good.
I will make a motion.
Thanks.
Yeah, I second that.
All right. So we got a motion by Josh, a second by JJ. Are there any other questions for Scotty? Those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks for all the work you did on that.
Thank you.
All right, we have our addition, 0.1 early childhood expansion initiative. And you said this is just adding, oh, hi, Leslie, how are you?
Good.
Go for it.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Leslie Sauter, your Economic Development Coordinator. And in front of you, thank you for adding it to the agenda, is a request to allow the county administrator and the board chair to execute the grant amendment. So we've had a slight change to our plan with the childcare grant award that we received from DEED earlier this year. And that is just in response to the Hinckley-Finlayson School District had voted and it didn't pass to use the Finlayson Elementary School as a childcare center. And that is okay because we did have another site in the county up in Willow River that was opening up. And this is a great opportunity to assist that startup with some of the early startup costs of starting a childcare, which makes it hard to open a childcare center. So we are shifting some of the focus up there. We will actually add more slots overall. And so this is a win-win. And yeah. So we're just asking today to allow Dave and Terry to sign the amendment so that we can allocate those funds to the Willow River site and move forward.
Are there any questions for Leslie? You did a lot of work on this. Thank you.
sounds like a good plan.
Is that a motion?
Could be, yes.
Okay, got a motion by Steve,
I'll second.
a second by JJ. Are there any other questions for Leslie?
Thank you, Leslie, with the help of North.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Awesome. Thank you, Leslie. And we are moving on to commissioner updates. So we've got Arrowhead and Matt just stepped out. So we'll go to labor negotiations. Oh, you're back. So we're on Arrowhead.
Make it.
Okay. All right. Labor negotiations.
I'll take that. We're still in negotiations. We're scheduled for Friday and one more after that.
Okay.
Just in the process of back and forth.
Okay, sounds good. NLX, NLX was kind of interesting. So they're looking for support from the BNSF, and it's for an FRA, and they needed to make the money givers happy. And I don't know if, I guess there's a lot of people that are going after the BNSF to get money, and so they're not sure if they're going to be able to get that or not. They're on phase one right now, and this is through MnDOT. MnDOT's the one that does this, and so they're on phase one right now. The bulk of phase one is two, but for them to go on further to get money from the MFSP, they need to be well into two and partially into three, and they figured that it's going to take at least 6 weeks to do it, but they're looking at not until March, April or March to be able to be there. So it doesn't look like that's going to be a possibility. I don't know. We'll have to see. So that was the majority of what they were talking about, was how to get the funding and the money for that. So that is NLX. HRADA.
I can take that. The elected officers, Mary Kay nominated, she's the chair, vice chair, Rick Lewis, Secretary Leah. Just talked a little bit about with the new building, the loss of rent policy. It's not for collection. talked about the section 8 vouchers also with that. On the EDA portion, we talked a little bit about Little Bees daycare, Willow River. That's what we just talked with Leslie on. Other than that, if Matt or Dave had anything to add to that? That's all I got.
No, just Terry's first, the new guy.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. We introduced Terry Peterson from District 2. Replaced Henry. Thanks, Matt. Right there.
Sounds good. Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. You want to go, Steve?
Sure. We met, talked quite a bit about, we signed a kind of an historic statement of principles with them several years ago. Now they have a new chief executive officer, and the discussion was, do we need to sign a new agreement, and I think we came to the conclusion that maybe we just need to both acknowledge the agreement that we have, and maybe add a signature line for their new chief, and bring it back to this board to make sure we understand what we've signed, because it's been a while ago and we have new members since we signed that. So, and so do they. So I think we'll work on that. The other thing that came out of the meeting is to make a connection between the Mille Lacs Band and the homeless shelter that we toured a couple of weeks ago in Pine City, and make sure those people are in contact with each other. I think there's some synergy there that could work.
Zoning board.
Madam Chair, it's on there twice. Is
on there.
that a different one? Oh, that's the same one? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the meeting, there was two projects on two variance things on the agenda. One was tabled and the other one was denied. And then we had a meeting as a group afterwards to discuss the cannabis ordinance and things and plan, because of the election and everything happening and with Kelly. So we're gonna get that committee together mid to late November and knock that out. So it was a pretty quick meeting.
Okay, good. Snake River, one watershed, one plan. It was interesting. We had a manure pit come up in the discussion, and so we actually voted to help with the closure of a manure pit. This closure, it's going to cost the client $9,645, and it'll cost us $28,937. But it will reduce the phosphates 10 times what their 3-year project goal was. And so just to get that manure pit closed is going to be huge. We have a new person who's taken over, and so it was very detailed, a lot of stuff going on there. A septic system update. We're meeting tomorrow to hopefully vote to not have the Mille Lacs, or not the Mille Lacs, to not have the Snake River membership board anymore. So that's the public hearing for that is tomorrow morning at 9. And so part of that is we had talked to Kanabec County, said that they wanted to see dirt moved with the $20,000 project. And this septic system is that dirt moved. And so we're all kind of on pins and needles waiting to get the update. They think that it's been done. And they're presenting to the Kanabec County board today. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to end that management board. And yeah, so that was a big part of what that was. But yeah, it was going over, we talked about the elm trees and what's going on with them with the, can't think of it, the bugs, and how to replace them and all of the stuff that goes with that. Ash borer, yeah. And there's so much more in Kanabec County than we have in Pine that it's more of a concern over there. Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, they had actually a bus tour that came to our courthouse, and it was meeting with their employees to discuss what they think should be done and what's been being done and how we can work better together, and just to show them support for what they're doing. That was about it with that one. It was actually a good group of people. I was able to snake Dave in and bring him into the room, and so it was good to show that support. Lower St. Croix watershed.
We met last week. Actually, the majority was about the new work plan, and we got the final thing that we passed. I got an email late yesterday, so it'll be on the next agenda 2 weeks from now, because the way our organization is organized, the ideas come up, they have to get passed by every entity that's a member of that board, and then they go back for the big plan. So anyway, that'll be coming forth. Some good projects in there.
East Central Regional Development Commission.
Yeah, it was October 28th. Kester is our public at-large person. We back in again. What else? To talk a little bit about the gaps in transportation between different ways of transporting people around a county. They're still trying to work. If somebody wants to go for a medical trip or something, there's just some voids where they, we talked about that a year or so ago. They're still working on that. What else? There's 3 public interest positions open in Isani, Chisago, and Mille Lacs. So if you know of anybody that wants to get involved, let them know. There's 3 positions right now. That's all I got.
All right, Essentia Ambulance.
Matt and I met with David and the ambulance crew. There's some issues, and we hear as commissioners about long wait times for an ambulance, and they're true. If you're waiting for an extended period of time and somebody's laying on the ground, it's a true deal. And so I think some good came out of that meeting. We know there's some work to do on all sides. Maybe understanding their system and our system, but we have kind of committed that we're gonna meet once a quarter. Is that what we decided, David? We're gonna go down that route instead of once a year, get a report and try to get on top of some of these issues and figure out really what the problems are. We know there are some issues that need to be hammered out, and so I think if we have kept our ears open at all when we've gone to AMC meetings, we're not the Lone Ranger in this. It's a statewide, it's a nationwide issue in rural settings. There's so many miles between facilities and where people live, and so and the expectations of people. So we'll work on it. I think good meeting. I think it was. I think it was a very good meeting, and I think the conclusion that I came around a long way with is things are not going to get better if we don't be honest with each other and have good communication. And so that's what we have agreed to do, is continue to talk.
Can I ask a question? So are we gonna deal with that as a committee from now on, or are they gonna come and do their annual presentation?
I think they're still gonna give us an annual presentation. I think that.
I'm gonna look at Debbie, because did we confirm AJ for next meeting? I think
we did. Yeah.
So he will come and do his annual presentation. If not next meeting, it will be as soon as he can fit it.
Okay. It would still be nice to have little meetings like that, though.
Yeah, we're committed to.
Yeah.
Orderly.
Yeah.
Experience some of the issues.
Yeah.
All right. AMC district meeting, I was not able to attend. I had another one at the same time. So Suzanne from Carlton went to my place, and I talked to Julie and asked how it went. And she said, we talked a lot about getting our AMC people some raises to keep them. And she said it was a 100% vote. So everything went with that. So we'll be seeing, I believe it was a $2,000 increase in their AFC dues is where that will be for now. And then they're going to be redoing how they do the dues in the future. So that was good news. Does anybody have any others?
I do.
Okay, we'll go Steve first.
I was the lone county commissioner that got appointed to this dynamic transportation committee that the legislature ordered MnDOT to do a study on rural transportation. JJ touched on it because I know it's not just in Pine County, it's in East Central Minnesota, and it's every place in the state and the nation, actually. But we have a really good rural transportation system. If you live in the city limits of, for instance, Pine City, you have dial-a-ride and you have point-to-point things you can get to. If you live 5 miles out of town, you've got zero rural transportation help. And so this meeting really focused on that. It's good to go to these kind of meetings because you find out that it's not just happening in Pine and Kanabec County, it's happening everywhere. They can't find volunteer drivers. Our VA van is in real danger of continuing to be able to operate the way it's operated because we are out of volunteer drivers. So the plea is out there. You know, anybody that wants to be a volunteer driver, will get them signed up, at least so we can keep that VA van going.
Would it be worth it to put something have her put something in the paper?
She's putting an article in both papers this week. Mindy is. But it's way beyond that. It's way beyond having drivers for a VA van. It's having people being able to get to medical appointments. It's being able to go to the grocery store and go shopping. It's being able to get to a meeting like this with using public transportation. It's an issue. And so how do we as a state get our arms around this, and how can we fill that void? Interestingly enough, there are a couple of pilot projects in the United States that have to do with autonomous vehicles. So you think about that. That is a Jetson set. If I type in my address on my app that says I need a ride, a van would pull into my house and I would get in the car and tell the app I'm buckled up and ready to go, and it would take me to the address in town that I said I mean, is it gonna happen by Christmas? No. Is it gonna happen by next October? Probably not.
7
but
generations.
It might, I might live or I might live long enough to see it happen. I don't know if that's the direction it's gonna go. Are we gonna get, I was sitting next to a guy with the Lyft Corporation. I go, how come I can't get a Lyft or an Uber in Pine City? He said, well, you can, it's on your app. I said, yeah, there's no driver ever available, ever. He said, well, because no driver has said, I will do that in Pine City, And so is that part of the solution? We incentivize one of those kind of companies to come to Pine County and offer that service so that we can use them for MA rides. We can use them for if Steve needs to go to the doctor, or if Joe Blow needs to go to his VA appointment. I don't know. I do not know. But it was an interesting meeting. We have a follow-up meeting on Zoom in the middle of December. And then they have to give a report to the legislature, which sometime in February. So it was very interesting. So thanks for the opportunity.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hall, and I'd just like to add, everybody always picks on the elderly people. Myself personally, being younger, I too could utilize, some public transportation right now. So when you're out and about and talking, just, stuff happens. And it's not just for older people as well. And I do know some younger people that just don't either have a car. Well, they come to my place of business because they got a vehicle broke down.
Right.
And they don't have a way to get there. A lot of times they'll walk and we'll give them a ride, but that's a perfect example. Everybody just picks on the elderly people that can't drive or whatever, but that's not the situation. It is a big need around, so.
And even if you have public transportation, lived in Pine City, and you had to go to the doctor in Wyoming, Minnesota, you can't get there with public transportation. If you had to go to Essentia in downtown Duluth, you couldn't get from here to there, except maybe can you go one day a week, probably, with the 2 or 3 transfers? Is there a better system?
Matt,
Go time.
time.
We had the Magis watershed meeting. So they did a project review from when we started, and it's pretty good. This farm ag projects are like 75.6% of their goal is done. Which is that, and there was some big ones, and I talked about before that one big one. The forestry projects are going pretty good too. They're at 30%. Lake, there's some progress. They're moving on a lake. It's a little different because shoreline stuff is driven different, but it's, and then, we worked on, setting the preliminary budget for the next thing. So we got that recommendation in. I was surprised at how fast they had stuff on deck up there.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I have others. NACO TNT, I cannot say enough how good our employees are. So we were talking about, a lot of it was risk and focus, and it was the TNT, and it was also the FIFPA meeting. They were talking a lot about the AI and the maliciousness that's going to be used in AI. And I think we saw it during this election system. Josh, you brought up during the meeting that we had with the township officers that this the maliciousness that's going on with our local is just not acceptable. And so they were talking about with how malicious it is, and a lot of it's AI, and how we need to cover our butts. So one of the things that they said is the GoGov, and I reached out to Ryan, and we're going to be hitting GoGov pretty soon, or .gov. So that's going to be a more protective email system, and that we'll be using with that. Another thing that they said is that whenever we do anything, any information online, that we want to have watermarks on our stationery, because then it's not as easy for other people to replicate. So those are two of the things. We've talked about broadband and the growth, the economic development. The statistics, the rates came in that if you have a good broadband, your growth rate for businesses is 213%. Being in Pine County, we're seeing more of like the 44%. It's that much lower when you don't have good broadband. So that was kind of interesting. And they threw out Beltrami. Beltrami County is outperforming many of the other counties throughout the nation. I mean, this is a national one, and they threw them out as if they've got gigabyte. So that was them. And then we met with Micah. We met with Matt Massman. Is that how you say that last name? We had talked before about the rural counties getting together with them, and then what the difference would be with Micah. And if we went with Micah, we would be the smallest, most rural county. He was going to take it and talk to the other counties that are involved with it and see if they would even accept us. So did you ever hear back from him on that?
I have not.
I haven't either. So when we hear back from him, then one of the questions was if they had a meeting that we could just attend as a guest and see what they do. And so we'll see what happens with that. But we did have that initial contact meeting. I met with the FCC, and one of the things that we need to start doing for our cell phone service, because it's that bad, is there is a mobile challenge. You have to go to the FCC website, And it's their mobile speed test. And so you can go on there and you can test anywhere. You need to do it outside. You can't do it in your house because then it doesn't count. Make sure your Wi-Fi is shut off when you do it. But so I was out at Wilma Township the other day and we were doing it and they have no cell service out there. So it takes a bit and then it'll kick in when they actually get to cell phone service. But it's something that we need to be doing. And if we can get that to our citizens, that would be a good thing. And then the FPIA, we talked a lot about the AI, just the fake things that are going on with that. But one of the other things that we talked about was the green lights for vets, which has been promoted with AMC and all of the other places. And Davis talked to Mindy and she did put a green light here. And we're going to talk about getting green lights for our vets here for next year for Veterans Day and see how that, if that will work it up. Yeah, one of the things that they're really looking at and they're preparing for is the countering the legal challenges with the extremist groups after this election. So it's been pretty interesting seeing where other people are going. And then the reason I did not go to the AMC was we had the ICRA courts. And so it was the Children's Justice Initiative, that grant. And we had Kayla and Sam from Pine County that gave a very good presentation on what our Family Resource Center's done. And just a drop in money, I think we talked about it at the Township Association meeting. The year that we started at, we were at $1.4 million that we were spending on out-of-home placement. And this year through September, we were at like $33,000. And it's not all because of Family Resource Centers. It's because our staff is really stepping up to help families before the crisis gets really bad. But to know that that's helping and to have them do that presentation was, I think, an honor, just showing the good work that they've done. And so that's where we were on Friday. And that's it for my others. Does anybody else have anything? Okay. Well, I'm meeting adjourned. Check out next month's or next meetings and we're set to go.